My little princess Amelia wasn't happy. On the other end of the line, for the first time ever, she wasn't her usual bubbly self. Her voice was cool, distant, offering only a clipped "I'm fine." I hung up and slowly untied my apron. Someone was about to have a very bad day. Anyone in this world can be unhappy. Anyone but her. Amelia's voice on the phone was tinged with exhaustion. I was in the middle of breaking down a bluefin tuna that had just been delivered. My hands paused. "What's wrong?" "It's nothing, just something at the office." "What's more important than dinner?" I asked softly, silence on the other end. I could picture her right now, nose scrunched, lips pursed. It was her classic pout. "You don't want to talk about it?" "No," she managed, her voice small. "I understand. I'm on my way." I didn't give her a chance to refuse. I just hung up. I wiped my hands, portioned the prime cuts of fish, and placed them back in the commercial-grade refrigerator. Then I pulled a high-end, insulated food container from the cabinet. Inside was a slow-braised short rib stew that had been simmering for 3 hours, along with a few of her favorite sides. Amelia, my little spoiled princess, has a palate I ruin myself. She can't stand anything that isn't made by my hands. And now she was telling me she wasn't coming home to eat. I changed into a pair of dark jeans and a cashmere sweater. Grabbing the container, a faint smile played on my lips. Amelia Jiang, the treasured daughter of Jiang Industries. After graduating from college, she insisted on starting at the bottom in some failing subsidiary her father's company had acquired. She wanted to prove herself. I said, "Prove what? What do you have to prove to a bunch of incompetent middle managers?" She just wrapped her arms around mine and pleaded, "Oh, come on, Ethan. It's for the experience. Life would be so boring otherwise." I only had one condition. She had to be home for dinner every night. And how long has it been? A week. Already breaking the rules. I drove my unassuming sedan slowly toward the downtown office building. I wasn't angry. Not exactly. I was just curious. Curious what or who had dared to upset my princess. At the front desk, a woman with meticulously applied makeup blocked my path. She looked me up and down, her gaze dripping with undisguised contempt. "Can I help you, sir?" "I'm here for Amelia Jiang," I said with an easy smile. "Amelia Jiang?" She sounded like I just told a bad joke. "Do you have an appointment?" "No, I'm just dropping off her dinner." "Dropping off dinner?" She scoffed. "We have a very strict security policy. We can't just let anyone in." She gestured toward a small waiting area. "You can leave it there. I'll have someone take it up to her later." My smile faded slightly. "No, I'll give it to her myself." "Sir, you're making things very difficult for me," she said, crossing her arms with a huff of impatience. "This is a professional office, not a food court." The last trace of my smile vanished. I'll say it one more time. My voice was still calm, but my eyes had gone cold. "I'm going up." She flinched at my gaze, but held her ground. "What is wrong with you? Don't you understand English?" I said. "You can't go up, Tiffany." "What's going on? What's with all the commotion?" A balding, middle-aged man with a prominent beard and belly strode over, radiating an air of self-importance. The receptionist's demeanor shifted instantly to one of fawning deference. "Mr. Peterson, this man is trying to force his way in. He says he's delivering food for Amelia John. I've been trying to stop him." Peterson glanced at me, then at the food container in my hand. The disdain in his eyes intensified. "And who are you to our Amelia?" I didn't speak. I just watched him, a storm of fury brewing in my eyes. He must have been used to people bowing and scraping because my lack of a response clearly irked him. "Look, kid, this is a place of business, not a high school cafeteria. Leave the food and get out of here. You're damaging our corporate image." He reached for the container. I sidestepped him effortlessly. "I'll give it to her myself." My patience was wearing thin. The beast inside me was starting to stir, but I couldn't. I didn't know how long I planned to stay here, and I couldn't give anyone ammunition to use against her. I took a deep breath, forcing down the violent impulse. The harmless, warm smile returned to my face. "Sir, I'm just dropping off dinner. It will take 2 minutes. I won't disturb anyone." I lowered my tone, making it conciliatory. "Could you make an exception?" Peterson clearly enjoyed the difference. His expression softened, though it still carried a patronizing air of charity. "It's not that I don't want to. It's just that company policy is... He didn't get a finish. A voice even more nauseating than his cut-in. Well, what's all the excitement about? Shouldn't you all be working? A man in an expensive suit, his hair slicked back, swaggered over. He looked to be in his mid-30s, and his gaze was oily and appraising. When he saw me, his eyes filled with an unconcealed hostility. The receptionist and Peterson scurried over to him like lapdogs. Mr. Vance, it's nothing. This man claims to be Amelia's boyfriend, here to drop off food. And you know, our policy doesn't allow for outside visitors. Amelia's boyfriend, you say? A friend of the family, then? But you're right. Rules are rules. Leo Vance. Calling her Amelia. A cold smile touched my lips. So this was the source of the problem. This was the insect buzzing around my wife-to-be. He walked up to me, his eyes landing on my food container. He feigned surprise. Wow, a man who still delivers food to his girlfriend in person. You don't see that every day. He looked me up and down. Mia must really keep you busy. The passive-aggressive dig was dripping with condescension. I saw the flash of jealousy and contempt in his eyes. He thought I was beneath her, some poor schmuck who had to cook to keep his girlfriend happy. The fire I had just suppressed roared back to life. I really wanted to destroy him. Anyone who dared to covet what was mine deserved to be erased. But I held back for her. Just beyond Leo's shoulder, Mia was walking out of her office. Her eyes lit up the moment she saw me. I held back. My smile grew even warmer. She's a picky eater. Can't get used to takeout. I adopted a humble tone. Sorry for the disturbance. I saw Mia quicken her pace. Her cool expression melted away into pure, unadulterated joy. Ethan, what are you doing here? She flew into my arms like a swallow returning to its nest, completely ignoring the three astonished, ugly expressions on the faces beside us. Didn't I tell you I was on my way? I gently tweaked her nose, my voice soft enough to melt stone. It was a complete 180 from the man they had just been dealing with. Mia clung to my arm, resting her head on my shoulder. I thought you were mad at me, she mumbled. I could never be mad at you. Ignoring everyone, I opened the container and ladled the rich stew into a bowl. It's your favorite. Eat before it gets cold. She obediently sat on a nearby sofa and began eating, taking small, delicate spoonfuls. The look of pure bliss on her face made it seem like she was dining on ambrosia. Leo Vance's face was as black as thunder. He had probably never imagined that the cold, aloof Amelia Jang, who gave him the time of day at the office, could transform into this soft, adorable creature in my presence. The stark contrast was a direct hit to his fragile male ego. Peterson and the receptionist were speechless, their jaws practically on the floor. Amelia, it's business hours. Let's maintain a professional atmosphere. Peterson coughed, attempting to salvage some of his authority. Mia paused, spoon halfway to her lips. She looked up, and in an instant, she was the imperious daughter of Jang Industries again. Mr. Peterson, it's my lunch break. Her tone was sharp, unforgiving. I'm eating a meal brought to me by my boyfriend on my time. Is there a problem? Peterson was left sputtering, his face turning a deep shade of crimson. That's no way to speak to your superior. Leo stepped in, playing the role of the magnanimous peacemaker. All right, Peterson. Don't get worked up over nothing. He turned to Mia, flashing what he probably thought was a charming smile. Mia, I know you're happy to see your boyfriend, but work is work. He pointed to a mountain of files on her desk. I need those reports on my desk by the end of the day. I followed his finger. I didn't even need to look closely. It was busy work, tedious, pointless grunt work. No one would assign a new hire anything important. They were deliberately trying to haze her. I slowly stood up, sat down next to Mia, and took a napkin, gently wiping a smudge of sauce from the corner of her mouth. Then I smiled. I looked at her and asked softly, Honey, what's the point? My voice wasn't loud, but in the quiet office, every word landed with perfect clarity. Why trade being the princess of the Jang family to come to a dump like this and be bothered by a bunch of flies? The faces of Leo and Peterson went through a spectacular series of contortions. Mia blinked. Then a mischievous glint appeared in her eyes as she smiled back. I'm just trying to get some life experience. I shook my head, pinching her nose gently, my expression a mix of exasperation and adoration. Had enough experience yet? Plenty? Then let's go home. I took her hand, not even glancing at the human statues they had become. Honestly, I said as if to myself, but loud enough for them to hear, wasting my time when I could be with my girl. Let's just bankrupt this company. As my words fell, the office was plunged into a dead silence. Tiffany, the receptionist's mouth hung open, the files in her hands scattering across the floor. Mr. Peterson's beer belly heaved as if he were a fish out of water. Bankrupt, he burst out laughing, a theatrical, ugly sound. Kid, do you have any idea what you're saying? Do you know who owns this company? Jang Industries. He pointed at me, his superior smirk returning. And who do you think you are? You think you can just say the word and make a company disappear? I ignored him, looking down at Mia. What do you think? A smile identical to my own played on her lips. She squeezed my hand and stood up, moving to my side. She didn't say a word, but her actions said everything. She was with me always. Leo's laughter died in his throat. He stared at Mia in disbelief. Mia, you can't possibly believe this nonsense, can you? He's bluffing. He's going to ruin you. Mia finally met his gaze, her eyes filled with the familiar glacial indifference she reserved for irrelevant people. What he said is what I'm thinking. She paused, enunciating each word with chilling precision. And who do you think you are to use my name? The sentence was a slap in the face. The color drained from Leo's cheeks, then returned in a blotchy, furious red. You, he stammered, unable to form a coherent thought. I smiled. I pulled out my phone and, right in front of them, made a call. It was answered almost immediately. Ethan, my boy, what's up? To what do I owe the pleasure? A hearty, powerful voice boomed from the other end. It was my future father-in-law, the chairman of Jang Industries, Amelia's father. I put the call on speaker. Mr. Jang, I'm with Mia. Oh, you two attached at the hip again. Where is she? Put her on. That girl hasn't been home in days. I handed the phone to Mia. Her voice instantly softened, taking on a playful, sweet tone. Dad, there's my little princess. Finally decided to talk to your old man. Have you? How are you liking it at that disaster of a company? Not great, Mia pouted. It's not fun at all. Just a bunch of annoying flies. Well, what did you expect? The place is about to go under thanks to all the leeches running it. You just had to go get experience and prove yourself. You see how much fun it is now. Oh, Dad, stop it. All right. If you don't like it, you don't have to stay. Come home. I'll open 10 new companies for you to play with. Okay. Mia nodded emphatically. Dad, Ethan says we should just let this company go bankrupt. The line went silent for 2 seconds. Then Mr. Jang's roaring laughter filled the office. Haha, that boy. He hasn't changed a bit. Fine. If you want it gone, it's gone. What's the point of keeping a worthless company that doesn't make money and just upsets my daughter? You two get your butts back here for dinner. The call ended. You could have heard a pin drop. Leo, Peterson, and Tiffany stood frozen, their faces a mask of shattered reality. I took Mia's hand, and we walked toward the door. As we passed Leo, I paused, turned my head, and offered him a placid smile. I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Ethan Hayes of the Hayes Corporation. The sun was shining when we left the building. Amelia hung on me like a koala, chattering away. Ethan, you were so cool back there, especially when you said the charade is over. Leo's face turned green. Huh, it was priceless. I opened the passenger door, helped her in, and walked around to the driver's side. Happy now? So happy. She nodded vigorously, her eyes sparkling like they were full of stars. If I knew it was this easy, I would have called you on day one. You want to talk? I said, pinching her cheek. Who was it that insisted on proving herself and getting life experience? She stuck her tongue out and snuggled against my arm. I was wrong. Okay, I just feel like I can't always live under my dad's protection. We're yours. I wanted to see what I could do without the Jang Aries title. I started the car, merging smoothly into traffic. And what did you find out? Her shoulders slumped. That I can't do anything. I can't eat without your cooking. I can't sleep when you're not there. And when I have to deal with a jerk by myself, I just get angry. She counted her grievances on her fingers. Listening to her, I felt a mix of amusement and exasperation. So, my little princess, What exactly are you so determined to prove? I reached over and ruffled her hair. You were born with everything. Why insist on living the hard way? Why trade a life of comfort for this game of proving yourself? Your only job is to be happy by my side. That's more than enough. My tone was even, but the possessiveness and adoration were unmistakable. Amelia fell silent. She just watched me, her eyes a little misty. This girl, she's been a picky eater since she was a child, only eating properly when I feed her. Her possessiveness is terrifying. She's always had this fear that if she wasn't good enough, I would leave her. So, she pushed herself, studied harder than anyone, always trying to prove her worth. What a fool. I stopped at a red light, turned, and cupped her face in my hands, looking her straight in the eye. Amelia Jang, you listen to me. You're the only one for me in this life. You're the girl our families promised me to since we were kids, the treasure I've watched over my entire life. My one and only exception. Even if you couldn't do a single thing, even if you had no skills to speak of, I would still take care of you forever. So stop it with all these ridiculous ideas. Your job is to let me spoil you and love you until we're both old and gray. Understand? The moisture in her eyes finally coalesced into tears rolling down her cheeks, but she was smiling. A radiant, childlike smile. She nodded hard, then leaned in and gave me a soft kiss. Ethan Hayes, you mind too? For your whole life, you're only allowed to have me. It was a wonderfully authoritative declaration. I smiled. Of course, my little kitten's claws were finally retracted. We went back to our home, a penthouse apartment with a panoramic view of the Hudson River. The moment she was inside, Mia kicked off her heels and threw herself onto the plush sofa. Ah, there's no place like home, she declared, sprawled out like a starfish. I shook my head with a helpless smile, put her shoes away neatly, and went to the kitchen to heat up her dinner. Come and eat before the stew gets completely cold. You feed me, she whined, rolling around on the sofa. Come hear yourself. I don't want to. I suffered a workplace injury today. I can't walk. I brought the food out and sat on the coffee table. What injury? Emotional trauma, she said, completely serious. I was harassed. My spirit has been grievously wounded. It can only be healed with kisses and cuddles. I couldn't help but laugh. I sat beside her, pulled her into my arms so she was leaning against me, and then picked up the bowl, feeding her spoon by spoon. Is this better, my little princess? She opened her mouth contentedly, her eyes closing in bliss as she savored the food. My husband's cooking is the best. Who's your husband? I teased, though my hands were impossibly gentle. You are, she said, her words muffled by the food. Our families have had us engaged since we were kids. Are you trying to back out now? I never said I was. I looked at her, my gaze deepening. The day you're old enough, we're going to the courthouse. Amelia's face instantly flushed. She buried her face in my chest, mumbling, Who wants to marry you? A low chuckle rumbled in my chest. This little girl always said the opposite of what she meant. In college, she was the undisputed queen of the campus, cool, aloof, and dismissive of everyone. The line of guys trying to ask her out stretched from the main gate to the campus lake, but I was always the only one by her side. Back then, to avoid unnecessary drama, I kept a low profile. I wore normal clothes, drove a normal car. Everyone thought I was just some poor kid from a humble background. People would whisper behind my back, saying I didn't deserve her, that I was just a whipped puppy dog. One time, a rich kid tried to ask her out right in front of me with a ridiculously large bouquet of roses. He looked at me with contempt. Excuse me, pal. Can you move? You're my way. I didn't say anything. I just looked at Mia. Mia didn't even glance at the guy. She just linked her arm through mine. Sorry, I already have a boyfriend. The rich kid wouldn't give up. What can he give you? I can buy you the latest designer bags. Take you on trips around the world. Mia laughed, the cold mocking sound. He can give me something you never could. He can cook for me every single day. Can you? He knows everything I love and everything I hate. Do you? He's the man I've chosen since I was a little girl. And you? What are you? She turned and pulled me away, leaving him standing there dumbfounded. From that day on, no one ever bothered her again. Everyone knew that Amelia Jang, the Ice Queen, had a poor kid boyfriend she valued more than life itself. What they didn't know was that this so-called poor kid could buy out their entire family's business on a whim. After dinner, Mia was re-energized. She was curled up on the sofa with her tablet, scrolling through something with great interest. I finished cleaning the kitchen and came out to see her laughing uncontrollably. "What's so funny?" I sat next to her and took the tablet. On the screen was the company's internal Slack channel. The top post had a bold, sensational headline: "Massive breaking news. The unbelievable drama that went down this afternoon and the real identity of our intern, Amelia Jang." I raised an eyebrow. Word travels fast. I quickly scanned the post. The author must have been a long-time employee because they described the afternoon's events with dramatic flair. From me being stopped at the front desk to the condescending behavior of Leo and Peterson, and finally the epic phone call with her father. The post ended by highlighting my name and her boyfriend, who is unfairly handsome, said his name was Ethan Hayes of the Hayes Corporation. People, the Hayes Corporation, were talking top of the food chain, a titan of industry. So that means Amelia J's identity is obvious. She's not some ordinary intern. She's the heiress to Jang Industries. No wonder she stood up to Leo Vance. No wonder she was so fearless. The comment thread was already 1,000 messages long. OMG, is this a real-life romance novel? The billionaire CEO and his pamper princess. I knew there was something about her. That look, that aura, she's a real-life princess. Leo Vance and Mr. Peterson must be absolutely losing their minds right now. I bet they wish the ground would swallow them whole. Serves them right. And that reception is Tiffany. I never liked her, always looking down her nose at people, but she feels stupid now. Am I the only one who's just jealous of her boyfriend? Handsome, rich, and completely devoted. They look like gods together. Dude, I was there this afternoon. I saw the whole thing. The way that Ethan guy looked at her. I'm a straight guy, and even my heart skipped a beat. It was so intense. Mia leaned over to gauge my reaction. "See, everyone's singing your praises." I handed the tablet back to her, non-committal. "It's silly." "How is it silly?" she retorted. "Look how much they envy me." She pointed to one comment. "I would trade 10 years of my life for a boyfriend like Ethan Hayes." She lifted her chin smugly. "See, you're in high demand." I looked at her, pining like a little peacock, and couldn't resist pinching her cheek. "Then you better keep a close eye on me." "Of course I will." She immediately wrapped her arms around mine. "You're mine. No one is allowed to steal you." Seeing her like this, so utterly adorable, the last bit of annoyance I felt toward those idiots at her office melted away. As long as she was happy, nothing else mattered. My phone buzzed. It was a text from Mr. Jang. "Kid, the liquidation process has begun. That Vance guy was embezzling funds. He's being dealt with by the authorities. Peterson's been fired. Now get over here for dinner, both of you. Your aunt has been asking about you for days." I put my phone away. "Who was that?" Mia asked. "Your dad? He wants us to come over for dinner." "Ugh, again? I wanted to spend time with just you," she grumbled. "We could do that tomorrow." I stood up and held out my hand. "Come on, before your mom starts blowing up our phones." "Fine," she said reluctantly, taking my hand. "But you have to promise to make it up to me later." "Make what up?" I asked. She stood on her toes and whispered something in my ear. "You have to feed me." "Feed you? How? You're terrible." "You know exactly what I mean," she said, giving me a playful swat before glancing down and flashing a wicked grin. My body went rigid. This little devil. In the end, we didn't make it to the Jang estate right away. By the time I finally managed to get a very satisfied Amelia out of bed and ready to go, 2 hours had passed. On the way, Amelia's mother, my future mother-in-law, had called about 100 times. "Ethan Hayes, did you two fall into a ditch? What's taking so long? We're on our way. We'll be there soon," I replied wearily. "Where's Mia? Let me talk to her." I passed the phone to Mia in the passenger seat, her cheeks still flushed. "Ma, you remember you have a mother? Where did you and Ethan run off to? Your father is about to finish his dinner." "Oh, you know traffic?" Mia said, grabbing the first excuse she could think of. "Traffic? Who are you kidding? You think I don't know that when you two get together, you lose all track of time?" Mrs. Jang's voice boomed through the phone. Mia stuck her tongue out sheepishly and fell silent. When we arrived at the Jang family's Greenwich estate, Mr. Jang was, as predicted, already sitting at the head of the dining table, leisurely sipping tea. When he saw us, he set his cup down in feigned anger. "Look what the cat dragged in." Mia immediately ran over and hugged his arm. "Dad, I missed you so much." "Oh, please. You missed Ethan so much you forgot to eat." Despite his words, his face was split by a huge grin. Mrs. Jang came out of the kitchen with a pot of soup. She saw Mia and immediately gave her ear a gentle twist. "You naughty girl. You go off to get experience. And what happens? Ethan has to run over and clean up your mess. Aren't you embarrassed?" "Oh, Mom, that hurts." Mia cried out theatrically. I quickly stepped in. "It's not Mia's fault. I wanted to go." Mrs. Jang finally let go, gave her daughter a look, and then turned to me. Her face instantly wreathed in smiles. "Ethan is always so thoughtful." She took my hand, looking me over. "You've gotten thinner. You must not have been eating properly. Mia, this girl, she just runs you ragged." I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "I'm fine." "Really? What do you mean fine? Look at your face. You've lost weight." We all sat down to a lively family dinner at the table. Mr. Jang brought up the company. That Leo Vance character had some nerve trying to make a move on my daughter. He snorted. "I've had our legal team look into it. He's been skimming off the top for years. He'll be put away for a good decade." Mrs. Jang added, "Serve him right." The nerve of some people. Mia was focused on her food, completely unconcerned with the aftermath. With her father and me around, she never had to worry about such trivial matters. Mr. Jang looked at me with approval. "Ethan, you did the right thing. Our daughter is precious. She shouldn't be pushed around by any random nobody. We'll let her go get experience so she could see the world, not to be bullied." I nodded. Mr. Jang said, his tone shifting, "Don't you think it's about time we made your marriage official?" Mia nearly choked on her soup. Her face turned beet red as she stared at her father. "Dad, what are you talking about?" "What am I talking about? You two have been promised to each other since you were toddlers. You've both graduated from college. It's time to get married," Mr. Jang said, as if it were the most obvious thing in the world. "The Hayes family agrees. Your father-in-law has been bugging me about it for weeks. We're just waiting for you two to say the word." I looked at Mia, flustered and blushing beside me, and a wide smile spread across my face. I took her hand under the table and looked at Mr. Jang. "I have no objections. I'm ready whenever she is." On the way home, Mia was quiet. She stared out the window at the passing city lights, arms crossed, not saying a word. I knew her mind was racing again. Back at our apartment, she changed her shoes and went to take a shower, all in silence. When she came out, I was waiting for her on the sofa. I patted the spot next to me. "Come here." She hesitated, then slowly shuffled over and sat down, keeping a careful distance. I sighed and pulled her into my arms. "What is it now, my little princess?" She buried her face in my chest, her voice muffled. "Ethan, are you only this good to me because our families arranged it?" There it was. She was stuck in that same loop of insecurity. I gently turned her to face me, forcing her to meet my eyes. "Amelia, look at me." My gaze was more serious than ever. "Do you really think I'm the kind of person who would be bound by some piece of paper?" She bit her lips silent. "If I didn't love you, I wouldn't care if the president himself ordered me to marry you. I wouldn't give you a second look. Do you think the alliance between the Hayes and Gene corporations depends on us? Believe me, if I gave the word, the line of women wanting to marry me would stretch from here to Paris." My words were blunt, almost cruel. The color drained from her face, and her eyes welled up with tears. A pang of regret hit me, but I forced myself to continue. "A line just as long would form for you. The alliance between our families was never a necessity. It was a bonus. The reason I'm willing, the reason I'm good to you, why I spoil you and protect you, is for one reason and one reason only." I cupped her face, my thumbs stroking her soft skin. "Because I love you. From the first time I fed you, and you smiled and called my name, I knew this little girl was going to be mine. I learned to cook for you. I turned away every other woman for you. I shielded you from every danger, not because of some stupid family agreement, but because the person was you. It was always you, Amelia Jang. So, can you please have a little more faith in yourself and in me?" can you stop asking such foolish questions? My voice had softened by the end, tinged with a plea. Her tears finally broke free, streaming down her face. She threw herself into my arms and sobbed, crying like a child who had been deeply wronged. I held her tight, letting her tears soak my shirt, patting her back gently, just as I had countless times when she was a little girl and I was coaxing her to sleep. "I'm here," I whispered. "I'm always here." Amelia cried for a long time. She cried until she was exhausted and fell asleep in my arms. Her breathing, even her long lashes, still beaded with tears. She looked so pitiful and so precious. I carefully lifted her, carried her to bed, and tucked her in. Looking at her sleeping face, my heart melted. This silly girl, she would never know what she meant to me. She was the only ray of light in my bleak childhood. As the heir to the Hayes Corporation, I was raised with the strictest, most demanding elite education. My world consisted of endless studying, business analytics, and cost-benefit assessments. Everyone was either deferential or distant. They only saw the title, the Hayes heir. Except for Amelia. Only this little girl would run over without a care in the world, hug my leg, and call my name in her sweet baby voice. She would press her favorite candy into my hand and tell me it was the most delicious thing in the world. When I got hurt during my martial arts training, she would cry harder than I did, then clumsily try to put a bandage on my scrapes. She would proudly declare to everyone, "Ethan is mine. None of you are allowed to bother him." She was the light of my life, the treasure I would give everything to protect. Our engagement was just a convenient excuse to keep her by my side forever. I leaned down and placed a soft kiss on her forehead. "Good night, my girl." The next morning, Amelia woke up with her eyes still swollen. When she saw me, she burrowed under the covers in embarrassment. "Don't you dare laugh at me," she mumbled. "I'm not laughing." I was sitting on the edge of the bed with a glass of warm water. "Get up, drink some water. Breakfast is almost ready." She peeked out from under the blanket, cautiously studying my expression. "You are not mad at me. When was I ever mad at you?" I asked, amused. "I asked such a stupid question yesterday." "Yes, you did," I nodded. "So, no more asking it ever?" She nodded obediently. I handed her the glass, and after a few sips, she looked at me with wide, earnest eyes. "Ethan, let's go get our marriage license." She blushed as she said it, but her gaze was resolute. I froze. Then an overwhelming wave of joy washed over me. I put the glass down and pulled her, blanket and all, into a tight embrace. "Are you serious?" She nodded against my chest. "I've thought it through. I don't want to second-guess things anymore. I want to tie you to my side so you can never ever get away." Her adorable, possessive declaration made me laugh. Okay, I would like nothing more. The process was simple and fast, just the two of us. We grabbed our IDs and went down to City Hall. Coming out, Amelia clutched the marriage certificate, turning it over and over in her hands, grinning like an idiot. "Ethan, look, we're officially husband and wife now. Yes, we are, Mrs. Hayes." I took her hand and kissed the back of it. Her smile widened, her eyes crinkling into happy crescents. "My husband," she chirped. That one word just melted me. I squeezed her hand. "Let's go home. I'll make you a celebratory feast." Okay. We walked hand in hand, aimlessly wandering the streets. The sunlight dappled through the leaves, painting shifting patterns on the sidewalk. Everything felt perfect. That evening, I cooked a huge spread of all her favorite dishes. We opened a bottle of good wine to celebrate. Amelia's cheeks were flushed, her eyes hazy as she leaned against my shoulder. "Husband, I'm so happy." "Me too." I wrapped my arm around her, resting my chin on the top of her head. "I used to think that I wasn't good enough for you," she whispered. "Besides my family and my looks, I can't really do anything. Without you, I'm kind of useless." I was afraid. Afraid that one day you'd get tired of me, that you'd think I was a burden. I listened quietly. That's why I wanted to prove myself. I wanted you to see that I wasn't just some trophy wife. I wanted you to know that I could be strong, that I could stand beside you, not always hiding behind you. I tightened my arm around her, whispering in her ear, "You silly girl. You have never been a burden. You're my greatest weakness and my strongest armor. I love taking care of you. I love seeing you rely on me. It makes me feel needed." Amelia, you don't have to be anything but yourself. You don't have to prove anything to anyone. Just be my princess. That's all I'll ever need. She's snuggled closer like a kitten seeking comfort. Then you can't ever get tired of me. Never. And you can't think I'm useless. Never. And you have to cook for me forever. Done. And you have to love only me forever. I swear. She was finally satisfied. She tilted her head up and kissed me. That's more like it. It was a long, warm, perfect night. The next day, we slept until noon. I was in the kitchen preparing lunch when Amelia patted in, wearing nothing but my white dress shirt, and wrapped her arms around me from behind. Husband, what smells so good? Seafood risotto and those crab cakes you like. Wow, I'm the luckiest girl in the world. She nuzzled against my back like a big, happy cat. I sighed and turned off the stove. Mrs. Hayes, if you keep this up, lunch is going to become dinner. She giggled, let go, and grabbed her phone to start taking pictures of me, of the food of the kitchen. Then she posted it to her Instagram. The caption read, married. He's mine. At Ethan Hayes, she posted a carousel of 9 pictures. There's a close-up of our marriage certificate, a shot of my back as I cooked, a selfie of her in my shirt, and one of our intertwined hands showing off our new wedding bands. After posting, she tossed her phone aside and helped me bring the food to the table. We just sat down when our phones started buzzing incessantly. Her Instagram had exploded. The first comments were from our parents. Mr. Jang, you punk, you stole my daughter, and you didn't even tell us we're getting married. Mrs. Jang, my baby girl, gone just like that. And you didn't even tell us. Then came my parents. Mr. Hayes, Sr. Well done, son. But you didn't tell us. Mrs. Hayes, my new daughter-in-law is beautiful, but you didn't tell us. Below that, a flood of comments from friends and college classmates, mostly variations of holy S asterisk 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 and congratulations. Amelia watched the comments roll in, laughing her head off. I put a crab cake on her plate. Eat up before your parents start calling as if on cue. Her phone rang. It was her mom. Mia made a face and answered. M-A-M-A-M-A-M-A-M-A-M-A-M-A. Mia Jang, you've got some nerve getting married without telling your family a thing. Do you have no respect for your mother? Mrs. Jang's furious voice echoed from the phone. Mia held it at arm's length until the shouting subsided, then put on a syrupy, sweet voice. Oh, Mom, we just wanted to surprise you. Surprise? I call it a heart attack. Okay. My husband is right here. Give me a break, she pleaded, winking at me. I sighed and took the phone. Hello, Ethan. My mother-in-law's voice suddenly turned serious. Were you supposed to be calling me now? I got the hint. Ma, that's more like it. She chuckled. Although you two work fast, I was just pushing you to get married yesterday, and today it's done. So when can I expect a grandbaby? Mia protested. All right, I'll stop. Honestly, they grow up so fast. That afternoon, our 4 parents started a group chat called Project Power Merger and added us to it. The sole topic of discussion was the wedding. From the venue, the dress, and the guest list to what brand of chocolates to use for the party favors, they debated every detail with fiery passion. Mia and I were happy to let them take over. For our 2 hyper-competent mothers, this was less of a task and more of the passion project they'd been waiting for their entire lives. Mia was curled on the sofa, scrolling through travel blogs. Husband, she said without looking up, where are we going for our honeymoon? I was cutting an apple into perfect slices, which I then offered her on a toothpick. Where do you want to go? She took a bite, her eyes curving into crescents. Somewhere with an ocean, a blue ocean, the color of Jell-O, and white sand soft like flour in a room where you could see a million stars from bed. I looked at the light dancing in her eyes and gently pinched her cheek. As you wish, my little princess. A week later, the wedding was held. It was a grand, dreamlike affair that became the talk of the city. But for me, the highlight wasn't exchanging the rings or kissing the bride. It was the moment she appeared at the end of the aisle in her white gown, her sparkling eyes fixed only on me. In that instant, the rest of the world faded away. My world was only her, the little girl who could barely walk, toddling after me, babbling my name. The little girl who scraped her knee and cried her eyes out, but could be comforted with a single piece of candy. The little girl on her first day of school, nervously clutching my shirt, refusing to go into the classroom. The teenager with a high ponytail screaming my name from the sidelines of my basketball games. The young woman who got into the same university as me, who found me in a sea of faces at the freshman orientation. Scene after scene flashed through my mind, finally settling on the present. On her in her pure white gown, holding a bouquet, walking steadily, surely towards me. She walked out of my childhood, through my adolescence, and straight into my heart to spend the rest of her life with me. The day after the wedding, we were on a flight to the Maldives. I had booked a private overwater villa with its own secluded stretch of ocean and an infinity pool. The villa was designed with 360 degrees floor-to-ceiling glass walls, offering an uninterrupted view of the turquoise water, whether we were in bed or in the bathtub. The roof was a massive retractable glass dome. The moment Mia stepped inside, she let out a little gasp, then ran around the enormous room barefoot like a happy butterfly. "Ethan, this is incredible." She flopped onto the king-sized bed, rolled around twice, then crawled to the edge, pressing her cheek against the cool glass to stare at the ocean. "I feel like I'm living in a crystal palace." I walked over and wrapped my arms around her from behind, resting my chin on her shoulder. "You like it? Like it? I love it." She craned her neck and planted a firm kiss on my cheek. "You're the best husband." I smiled and pointed at her massive suitcase, which was threatening to explode. "Aren't you going to show me the surprises you packed?" She had been secretly online shopping for this trip for weeks, refusing to let me even touch the suitcase. At my words, Mia's eyes lit up. She shot me a mischievous look, slipped out of my arms, and dragged the suitcase over. "Just you wait." A few moments later, she emerged from the bathroom. She was wearing a pale yellow one-piece swimsuit with retro ruching that made her look like a ripe, juicy lemon, fresh and sweet. She shyly tugged at the hem and did a little spin. "How do I look?" "Beautiful," I said honestly. Encouraged, she ran to the edge of the pool, dipped a toe in, and then turned to wave at me. "Come on, husband. The water's perfect." We spent the afternoon in our private infinity pool, sipping chilled coconut water and watching seagulls fly overhead. She was a mermaid, gliding joyfully through the water, while I spent most of my time just leaning against the edge, my eyes following her every move. Watching her carefree smile, I thought there could be no better sight in the world. That evening, we had a candlelit dinner on the deck. As we waited for night to fall, when the last embers of sunset were consumed by darkness, I pressed a button on a remote. The glass dome above us slowly retracted, revealing the brilliant, breathtaking Milky Way. Countless stars were scattered across the deep velvet sky like diamonds, shining with an intensity I'd never seen before. Mia leaned against my shoulder, completely mesmerized. "Oh my God," she breathed. "I've only ever seen a sky like this in pictures." I held her closer. "From now on, whenever you want to see it, we'll come back." The night deepened, and a cool sea breeze picked up. I lifted her into my arms to carry her back inside, but she suddenly wiggled free and ran back to her suitcase. "There's one more," she said, giving me a mysterious wink before disappearing into the bathroom again. She took a little longer this time. Just as my patience was about to wear thin, the door opened. My breath caught in my throat. She had changed into a black bikini. There was barely any fabric to it, just enough to cover the essential parts. Thin straps created tantalizing lines against her pale skin, highlighting every dangerous curve. If the first swimsuit was a refreshing lemon-flavored soda, this was a potent top-shelf cocktail that could get you drunk just by looking at it. She seemed a bit self-conscious. Her arms crossed over her chest, and her cheeks flushed, but she forced a look of confidence as she walked towards me. My throat was dry. I swallowed, my voice coming out hoarse. "Come here." She hesitated for a second before complying. I pulled her into my lap, and her body instantly tensed, her skin burning hot against mine. I lowered my head, my lips brushing against her earlobe, my hot breath fanning across her neck. "Amelia Jang, are you trying to kill me?" She was practically melting, her breathing shallow, but she still managed a defiant whisper. I have an even better one. I let out a low chuckle, my hands sliding down to her waist, feeling the smooth skin beneath the thin fabric. No need. This one is perfect. So perfect that I want to tear it off you right now. Before she could respond, I captured her parted lips with mine. Starlight streamed through the open dome, casting dappled shadows on the white sheets. The waves lapped rhythmically against the villa's stilts, playing the most ancient and primal of symphonies. The night was destined to be more brilliant than the stars and deeper than the ocean. As it turned out, we didn't see much of the island. For the rest of the trip, Mia was mostly draped over a lounge chair on the deck, like a boneless cat. Not wanting to lift a finger, she wore my shirt over her swimsuit and a pair of oversized sunglasses, her long, slender legs casually crossed. I brought a plate of freshly cut fruit over and set it beside her. She complained, her voice a low, lazy rasp. You know, Ethan, I made a discovery on this trip. Oh, she took off her sunglasses, her eyes full of mock accusation. The most spectacular view I've seen on this entire vacation has been the ceiling of our villa. I just looked at her, at the way the sea breeze tousled her hair, at her glistening eyes, and smiled. Then I leaned down and silenced her complaints with a kiss, using my actions to make sure she wouldn't have the energy to protest for a long, long time. After all, our honeymoon had only just begun. And who said you couldn't do some sightseeing in the room, exploring the peaks and valleys? That's a kind of sightseeing, too.